Hi all, welcome to Diversified Finance. My name is Lakal, and today I'm going to talk about Dow Jones, the US stock market, and the yield curve and upcoming financial crisis that people are talking about, and what we supposed to do about it. So we're going to focus on gold, silver, and Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. So um, um, we are already seeing this in Europe, like most of the countries. Say for example, in Germany, UK, some other stock markets in Europe. We've already seen that they are breaking their support line and going below. So we were waiting for Dow Jones and S&P 500 to do that. So overnight we have seen Dow fell another 500 points. So meaning we are we have already broke the support for Dow Jones. So the next support level is somewhere sitting somewhere around like 18,000 or so. That means we might see a massive fall in the share market. So you might think like why I'm talking about why the Dow Jones is so important. Why is the U.S. stock market is so important? The fact is like the US dollar is a world currency. So the US dollar is tied to most of the economies in the world, like almost all of them. So if something happens to US dollar because of the stock market, it could affect like all of us. So if Dow Jones, so what happened in 2008, we had issues, we had so much debt back in the day, and but what the Federal Reserve, that's the Reserve Bank of, say, we have a Reserve Bank of Australia in here. So likewise they have Federal Reserve, so that's the central bank for US. So what they have done back in 2008 when we had a crisis, they lowered the interest rate back down to closer to zero, and they kept it for a decade, for like 8 to 9 years or so. So during but they said they are doing that to save the economy, right? But what has happened for the last 10 years, it made the bubble, like whatever the crisis we had back in 2008, 100 times bigger. Why? Because when you put interest rate like way too low, it helps people. It gives them a mentality to gives this kind of mentality for people. Okay, interest rates are cheap, let's borrow more, right? So what happened if you talk about the stock market, it gave all the corporates like to borrow so much money and buy back stocks, which result in like a massive surge in the stock market. But what we need to understand, just because the stock market is going up, it doesn't mean like average Joe is having a great time, right? Because we need to look at the numbers. But government's been talking about unemployment's being low, but to be honest with you, like I really don't trust the government. I don't trust the government, so I don't trust the numbers they look at, the numbers they want us to look at. So unemployment could be even in Australia, even in any other country, because when a government in power, they not going to talk about anything bad about themselves, right? They're not going to say economy is really bad, things are looking really bad. Then people are going to question like, what you been doing for like so long. So because of that, government will always like lie and tell you, even though the economic conditions are really bad, they will cook the numbers and they will still say, okay, things are looking good. See that we've been doing like a pretty good job. But that's not the case. So given that we had low interest rate, it propped the market up like even higher. But the problems we had back in 2008 are still there. Like I mean, the only thing that happened is they got like 100 times bigger, because the debt in US now over 21 trillion. That's massive, right? I mean, never thought like that we have to borrow so much money, like but the thing is they've been borrowing so much money, but average Joe is still struggling, right? So it doesn't make sense. Like if they've been borrowing money and making infrastructures, if they giving money to corporates like to create new jobs, like then we should feel it. But how come we are kind of like struggling at the moment if the government saying the economy is looking good? So it doesn't make sense. So the reason what I take out of that is I don't believe what the government is saying. So Dow Jones broke its support last night. It went down by 500 points last night, and people have been talking about the yield curve. So A yield curve is like it's regards to the bonds that the government issued. So for example, for a 2-year bond, you probably get, say for example, 3%, right, per year. And then there are long-term bonds, like for 10, 20, 30, likewise. So for 10-year bond, you probably get maybe 3.5%. But inverted yield curve means when we see short-term bonds are getting higher interest rates compared to long-term interest rate, that we call that like inverted yield curve. Because um, why would you invest money for 10 years and get 3% when you can get 3.5% for 2 years? So this is something, because it's supposed to be longer the time, interest is supposed to be, interest that you're getting paid should be higher. But when it goes the other way, we tend to call it inverted yield curve. So when in the history, whenever we've seen an inverted yield curve, we are ended up having a recession. So looking at what we're seeing right now, one can predict, okay, looks like we are heading to a recession, but the thing is, if we are going for a recession right now, it's not going to be as same as 2008. It'll be like 100 times bigger. There'll be a lot of panic. We'll see people in the street, who knows, you might see empty supermarkets, you probably could go to the courts, you might see there's nothing there. Things going to be really bad for people if it goes the way that people are predicting, right? So things are not looking good. Economy wise, it's really bad. And the average Joe is having a hard time at the same time, right? The debt levels are so high. People have been borrowing so much money. So people they are relied on their jobs. So we have to rely on our jobs so much in case something goes wrong. If you see a Dow Jones goes down, back down to 18,000, or if it goes to a bear market, we might see massive job cuts. So if that happens, how the average people are gonna service their mortgage? So things gonna be really bad for people if they are not prepared. So that's the financial crisis. So what we supposed to do? So none of this is financial advice. This is just my opinion. So please do your own due diligence, right? So if someone asks me, okay, I understand that things are not looking good, so what am I supposed to do? To protect your wealth, just look at all the asset classes, right? So the share market has gone up so much, it at all-time highs. How property market is at all-time highs, is coming down and is cooling down at the moment. So then we need to look at the assets that are not so overvalued at the moment. So when you think about that, gold is a really good option. Silver is a really good option, and silver, they call it like the cheapest asset in the world right now. They're so cheap. I'm talking about physical silver, right? So people can, if you want, can buy physical gold and physical silver, and you can store it in a locker. You're not supposed to keep it at home. So keep it in a locker, keep it for long term. Who knows if the market goes down, because gold and silver prices are inversely correlated to the share market. When there's a crisis, it's like a monetary insurance. So when there's a crisis, when gold and silver price could spike massively, could go up by 10, 20 times, who knows, you can make a lot of money out of physical gold and physical silver. And the other one is Bitcoin. So recently we've seen early this year we've seen Bitcoin hit 20,000 or so, but since then it has come down so much. It's sitting around 3,500 right now, which is a bargain at the moment. So when we see share markets are coming down, it could be a really good option for people to think, okay, looks like Bitcoin has, because Bitcoin price has already come down, right? When share market is crashing, while share market is crashing, Bitcoin price has already hit a bottom. So that gives the people for an opportunity, okay, maybe let's get into Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So because Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, people used to call it, it's like a speculative asset, but the gains are massive. You never seen, you never gonna get 100 times or 500 times from gains from share market. But from Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, you can easily get that kind of crazy profits. So this is not financial advice. So if someone asks me what I'm supposed to do, like if you say, for example, if you have $10,000 like in your bank, or maybe say 20,000, it's wise, like say you go buy like 5,000 worth of gold, physical gold, and then probably 10,000 worth of say you have 20,000, right? So 5,000 worth of gold, 10,000 worth of silver, and then another 5,000 worth of Bitcoin. So you can diversify. So it's more about like diversifying your asset, like instead of putting everything on property, right? If you already have property, so you no need to worry about it, right? So you got a property already. So then it's time for us to look at other assets, right? Especially these assets right now, they are so cheap. So that's when you be supposed to buy, like when nobody's talking about it, when nobody's paying attention to these kind of assets, that's when we should buy. Because when everybody start talking about it, that means it has already gone up. So it's a really good opportunity. Like if you have 20,000, 5,000 for gold, 10,000 for silver, you can buy $10,000 worth of silver, and then another 5,000 worth of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So you can buy Bitcoin, Ripple, Ethereum, Litecoin, likewise, like just diversify. So you go for Bitcoin and then diversify among that asset. So you silver, even you can diversify among silver as well. You can buy, instead of buying like a kilogram bar, so 1 kilogram of silver or is around like 700 AUD at the moment. Instead of buying instead of buying kilogram silver bars, you can buy silver coins. Likewise, like diversify among, like it's coins up. You can there's a variety that you can when you accumulate silver, you can variety of bars you can accumulate, and then got a variety of coins. So you can do that if you want. Yeah, so what happened, I normally do this on my laptop. For some reason the audio is not working, for something wrong with my microphone. So when I speak, for some reason it doesn't record. So that's why I had to do it on my phone. So anyways, I wish you guys all the best, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and I'll talk to you in the next video. See ya.